One man's political philosophy led to the death of an estimated 100 million people. His ideas have been totally discredited in the crucible of reality. And no, I'm not referencing Adolf Hitler, although the two share more in common than you might think. The man I'm describing personified evil in so many ways, and yet he's enjoying a renaissance of respect, mostly from the ignorant. Join me in the Economic War Room, where we ask best-selling author James Simpson, former economist for the White House Office of Management and Budget, the relevant question: who was Karl Marx? Jim Simpson, welcome back to the Economic War Room.
Hey, Kevin, great to be with you. Thanks for having me.
Oh, it's always a pleasure. You know, you really were the first person to uncover the whole Cloward-Piven strategy that Glenn Beck and so many others have talked about. And now we're seeing that play out right before our eyes. Tell us, how did you uncover that and how is it being carried out?
Well, you know, it's actually, I have to give credit where credit is due. It was actually David Horowitz who described that. And he had articles about it on his Discover the Networks website. And I stumbled across that. But, you know, with David Horowitz, these things are just like routine. All of these strategies that he's so familiar with, it's like they're, you know, oh, blasé, just another thing to him. But, you know, to those of us who have never been exposed to that, just like when people were first exposed to Saul Alinsky's Rules for Radicals. You know, the radicals have used that book for decades, and it's routine for them. For us, it was an eye-opener. The same thing with the Cloward-Piven strategy. But one thing that I think that I pulled out of it that nobody really had before was how completely that strategy envelops everything that the left does. All of their strategies, in one way or another, are the Cloward-Piven strategy. And for those in your audience who don't know what that is, it's called the crisis strategy, and it came out of a 1966 article they wrote for The Nation magazine called The Weight of the Poor, where they described how they would collapse our system by packing the welfare rolls with so many beneficiaries that the government would simply collapse under its own weight, and then in the ashes they could propose socialism as their response. Now, of course, socialism just would make it collapse even worse, but they never seemed to care about that stuff. But they applied it to voting, they applied it to the housing crisis. That was a Cloward-Piven strategy. Complete with complicity by the Clinton administration, Andrew Cuomo, who was the housing secretary at the time, and the GSEs, who were run by Franklin Raines. All of these people were complicit in the deliberate explosion in housing prices followed by the financial meltdown in 2008.
No question.
Lost Republicans the election. And now we're talking about the massive illegal immigration influx, which is just another crisis strategy, overwhelming us with all the problems those people bring, while at the same time giving the Democrats, hopefully for them, an entirely new, large voting demographic that will give them a permanent majority for the future to rule. Think of how bad that could be.
Well, that's the end game then, is socialism. And the purpose of socialism is communism.